Invisible. The lab was empty, save for the one researcher on that floor, and she hunched over the microscope with a grimace. She lifted her hand from supporting herself on the countertop and readjusted the lens. Alice saw the same thing happen to the last 5 neurons when she introduced them to that species. Her hand let go of the lens's knob and felt around for a pencil. Then she scrawled everything she saw under the microscope. That little blob wasn't named under binomial taxonomy yet, but the lab named them stranglers. That was because they latched onto a spindle or other strip of a given cell and messed with it. They would then bunch up and wrap around the other cell, massaging it sporadically. The parasite especially loved strangling neurons. Alice was assigned to research its interactions with other cells. So far, stranglers went for neurons and neurons only. Even in the 6th trial simulating blood vessel tissue running through the central nervous system, it still went straight for the nerve. A loud thump like a fist came from the door, and Patchy marched on in with his lab attire and clipboard. He saw Alice staring down at her sample and tossed his clipboard on the table. "So what's the strangler doing now?" he asked. Alice stood up straight, then rested on one of her hands, giving room for Patchy to look into the microscope. "It only attacks nervous girls, and with its usual MO, she told him. "It even skips over everyone else and heads straight for its target." Patchy hunched over with one eye over the glass. He saw the strangler squeeze between the bricks of the arterial wall, moving out of the barricade in its normal amoeba shape and its organelles intact. He lifted himself up from the microscope and turned back to Alice. "Are you sure you got that slide squeezed down right?" he asked Alice. Alice pressed her fingers against either side of the slide, its disc of water neither flattened nor spread out. "Airtight," she said. Alice leaned down back into the microscope. She saw that strangler touching the neuron in the slide. "Yep, it passed through our blood-brain barrier." "Impossible," Patchy said. "That thing's too dang big to get through that." "Well, it just did right now," Alice said. "Just like Maurice said." "Yeah, just like Maurice said. And he's in the loony bin now." "Wait, what's this?" Alice planted both palms on the table, staring intently with one eye. By then, the strangler was already around the axon hillock, squirming around as it always does. However, unknown until then, the neuron was spurting out an endless stream of transmitters like an untrained dog on the carpet. Alice slid away from the microscope. "You want to see this," she told Patchy. Patchy took his turn from the microscope. "Holy. And this thing can get into the brain?" "Yeah," Alice said. "We found it in Malaysia." "So Malaysians know about this?" "Well, they do have a mental illness called the muck. It's when someone inexplicably goes on a homicidal rampage. Not very many reported cases, though." Patchy patted his palms on the table and stood up. "The amok bug, huh?" he said. "Surely they'd have found it by now." "Nope," Alice said. "This could be it. We need to tell the world." She pressed her fingers on the slide again. "You can see for yourself." Patchy looked at the microscope down at the slide with his naked eye. "Make a new slide. This time make sure it's flat as weak old beer." "This one is flat," Alice said, pushing her 2 fingers on the slide emphatically. "We've even seen it get through the barrier." "If you press that one more time, I'm going to break your fingers," Patchy shouted. Alice startled and jumped back. The slide fell over and spilled on the table. "Alice, you idiot!" Patchy grabbed Alice's hand and crushed it like a handful of straws. He then grabbed the microscope and swung it over his head. Alice felt a hard knock square on her forehead. She felt disoriented and ready to topple over. Another hard wallop struck her, this time on her scalp. She fell over, unconscious and bleeding from where she was struck, and dangled from Patchy's grip. Patchy threw the microscope one more time on Alice's head, breaking both the microscope and her skull. He ran out of the room and for the stairs, looking for anyone else to take out his sudden rage on. Maurice sat in his room waiting for the nurse. She came in with a bottle of pills and a glass of water. "Maurice, how are you feeling?" the nurse asked. "Scared as usual," Maurice said. "Oh, that it'll happen again? I'm sure you'll be just fine today." Maurice tossed the pills into his mouth and chugged down the bottle. "No, that what I got can spread." "Oh, don't you worry about that. It's not contagious." The nurse left the room, leaving Maurice by himself. He leaned down and rested his chin on his hands, thinking about police sirens and gunfire at his old workplace.